Hey, party people. I know what you're thinking. You are thinking, Zoe, you are always telling us don't sketch early on in the process. You want to explore motifs and go through your inspiration and pick colors and fabrics. And I know. I'm not sketching to design. I'm sketching to do a brain dump. And what I mean by that is, I just have a lot of random stuff that I have been thinking about for a long time. And I just need to declutter my brain and just put it out on paper, all the dumb stuff that's rattling around up there, so that I can just kind of bookmark it for later. And if I decide after more design exploration and materials and all these things that one of these sketches is an idea that I still want to include, then so be it. But this is purely a brain dump. And I encourage you to do the same because a lot of you have these ideas that you've been trying to manifest for a long time. And they've been rattling around in your brain for a long time. And it doesn't allow for new creativity when you have just like old stuff just stuck in your brain. And so I encourage you to just sketch it out. Some of you are better at doing flats, using templates like me, not using templates, chicken scratching it, writing it out, making a muslin sample. I have a friend who she self-describes as can't draw for beans, but can do a messy mock-up real fast. Whatever it is, to declutter your brain, to make room for new and fresh ideas and exploration, do the brain dump. So today we're doing the brain dump. And, I told you in the previous video that I had been exploring and thinking about the idea of Workbook for a long time, the Korean kind of scrap quilting thing. And I had talked about last week the idea of a textural ombre where I take heavy opaque pieces of denim at the top of the garment, and I piece increasingly lighter pieces of denim until we get to the very end where the bottom pieces are sheer. I could do the whole thing in silks, if I start with like a Duchess satin up top, and if I wanted a glossy look, I could keep going with like a heavy charmeuse and lighter charmeuses and get kind of glossy, or I could go matte and start with a heavy crepe, end with a chiffon or an organza, that sort of thing. So I've been playing with that idea so much, I need to just put it down somewhere. And so I was thinking about this kind of trench coat in the denim or the silk. Just as a reminder, this is the Workbook book that I referenced in my previous video. And this is kind of like what it looks like, not the exact pattern that I would use, but these are some examples to show you, kind of help you visualize what I'm sketching. To do the textural ombre in a trench coat, I imagined in my head that I would build a crazy, insane hoop skirt, and you would see some of the cage as the skirt of the trench coat got more sheer towards the hem. But I also thought, what if I went more sporty with it and did something like a baseball jacket, maybe a varsity jacket, which the only real difference when it comes to like refabricating something like that would be raglan sleeve versus set-in sleeve, something like that. I haven't made up my mind as to what the sleeves would be. But again, these are not fully fleshed out design ideas. We're brain dumping just things that have been just stuck in my brain. I also had this idea of doing a jean jacket that's like classically a jean jacket in the collar, shoulder, front and back yokes, the sleeves, and then the body would be the Workbook panels, again in the textural ombre. I like this idea of I have been taking apart and putting back together and embellishing jean jackets for years. If you follow my Instagram, you know I would randomly like post pictures of like jean jackets where I've added a bunch of stuff. Anyway, so I love this idea of taking a classic like a jean jacket and then taking out the body and replacing it with this like whole new fabrication. So like the front would be kind of like the normal front with the jean pocket, and then the rest of it would be the chokeable body. Here's another thing is when I was kind of like, my brain was thinking about ideas for my brand, I had this idea because here's the thing. I love outerwear. I love wearing it and I love designing it. However, I've lived in California since the 90s, and so I do not get to wear outerwear that much. So I had this idea, what if I did a line of outerwear that was always done in like super, super, super lightweight materials? You know, like gauze and organza and just the super lightest, floatiest linens or whatever, right? But the shapes look like a giant Max Mara overcoat or whatever. You get the idea, right? And I kind of thought about it and I was like, is that a brand or is that a collection? Let me know your thoughts, because I still like this idea, like rattling around in my head. Like, is that a brand or is that a collection? Because, I mean, it could be like a conceptual collection, but at the same time, I could do a lot of outerwear in a lot of really light fabrications. And that would be a purely selfish one for me, because I would wear the crap out of that collection. So yeah, I would be just doing all kinds of trench coats and cocoon coats and like kind of like a classic leather jacket style, but obviously not done in leather. I don't know what I would use, but I would go explore like the lightest fabrications. How would you like a lace motorcycle jacket? I want one right now. Somebody make me one immediately. You know what I'm saying? So let me know, is that a collection or is that a brand? Y'all are like, have already made up your mind that I'm going to do denim, and I'm still over here flapping in the breeze. Like, what if we did this instead? Anyway, so these are some of my evening wear ideas. So something I had not mentioned, maybe, I'm not sure, but with the evening wear idea, one of the key components, hat tip to bridal sewing, because she's the one who gave me this idea and I kind of ran with it. Because bridal sewing does alterations for brides, and she meets brides of all ages. And she was talking about kind of like fit considerations for older customers, because like I said, you know, the idea was to make evening wear for 40 plus, right? And she said, if she were to do a brand, and she's like, take this idea because I won't do it, she would make separates, because it's easier to fit like how older women's bodies change and are different, and torsos get shorter and middles get wider, like all these things. And so she would make separates, and I'm like, that is such a good point. And so, because I have found myself dealing with the same, because I am a top heavy person and I don't own a lot of dresses. I definitely don't own any fitted dresses. I own very loose, boxy dresses because I do not have like what is like the majority body type. Okay. And so I was thinking like the way a lot of brands sell bikinis. They sell them separate, so you can buy a 6 on top and 8 on bottom, or vice versa, whatever, and they could be put together in one bikini, and it looks like one outfit, but you bought 2 separate pieces because of the sizing, right? So I want to create evening wear separates that to just look at it, they look like a dress. They function as one piece because sometimes like separates kind of looks dowdy. Like I would also pursue designs as separates that look modern and fresh. Sometimes, evening wear separates can look really matronly. But there's this one outfit from 100 years ago that kind of has always stuck with me for, I don't even know why. But like back at, I want to say the 90s, the late 90s, Ralph Lauren came out with this collection. And I don't really remember much of the collection, but there was one outfit where it was a bright orange sweater, cropped sweater that stopped right under the boobs. And then it was a massive matching orange, but satin, probably a charmeuse, heavy charmeuse, huge ball skirt. And I don't know why that outfit stuck in my brain. So, separates can be done in a non-dowdy way, but I'm also looking to make separates look like a dress, like the one on the left. Like this is kind of like how I want the fringe to come over and overlap. So like where exactly the waist sits and how the bodice overlaps is a little bit obscured with all the razzle dazzle beading. So this is kind of like a bookmark design on that concept. Also, as someone who also does not like to cover their arm, who doesn't like to show their arms, there are a lot of people who, especially older people, don't like to show their arms, and just people who like to wear wraps. And I feel like wraps are a category, like evening jackets, evening wraps, that kind of thing, where it's boring. They look like an afterthought. It's just like a big old piece of fabric that's been hemmed and just like worn like a shawl. And I wanted to do some really interesting, embellished, cool, like caplets. Maybe that's a whole brand, is like just to do these really cool, embellished, insane chains and fringe and beads, oh my, caplets to throw on, which is actually outerwear and evening wear merged into one. I am a one-track mind, even when I feel like I'm going 17 different directions. So a couple of other things that I want to do to kind of get myself in a very creative mind space is to make things. Now, I picked up this book a while back because it has patterns for the kinds of clothes that I like to wear. Okay. I like kind of big boxy shapes, kind of loose and kind of floaty, in different interesting fabrics, natural fibers, that sort of thing. So I picked this up hoping to make a couple of pieces for myself. And so I'm going to pick one, try to make one. I've been digging through my fabric stash to see if I have any fabrics with enough yardage to fit this. I kind of don't, so I might have to go to the store. Oh no, I have to go fabric shopping. I'm so upset. Yeah, no. And then the other thing I want to do is hit up some thrift stores and maybe pick up some like oversized jean jackets, like some old beat up jean jackets, and mess around with them. I first definitely want to like kind of remove the body and play around with the chogakbo idea and see if I can actually make that jacket, that jean jacket I sketched earlier, and just test it out and see if that even works. So I'm going to do those things while I'm working on the other steps to this design project. Drop me your questions, things you'd like me to discuss on the live or future episodes of this series. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.